Now this is not going to be a true unboxing. It's not the first time that I've opened this box. I've been using this particular reel for, I guess, a season now, maybe more. This is one of several of these model reels that I actually do have and have been using. But everything is here the way that it would be if you bought it new yourself. You have your user guide. Come back to this in a minute. Foam packaging up on top. You have a tool that can be used for unscrewing the screws. This is also a roughly 10 millimeter wrench that you use to be able to take the handle off. Then you have the reel itself. Now, as I said, I have really appreciated this reel. My general motto when it comes to buying equipment is to purchase the best stuff that you can afford to replace. Most gear that's out there is designed around, you know, largemouth bass. The average largemouth that people are catching is going to be what? 2 pounds? 5 pounds might be the fish of a lifetime. A 5-pound snakehead is a Tuesday evening. These fish get to be enormous. I think my PB is in the ballpark of 11 or 12 pounds, 30 plus inches long, and they fight like the dickens when they want to. And that leads to a lot of wear and tear. You're also fishing in muddy, swampy conditions, a lot of vegetation, a lot of stuff gets stuck to the reel. It can be really hard on the internals. Things get wet. The fish are thrashers in the boat, and they will sling water, slime, whatever you can think of, all over everything, including yourself and your equipment. And that really gets to be a problem. This particular reel has an issue. I had it out on the water for some early season snakehead fishing, and after a particularly heavy hook set, I noticed that my reel started making noise. I have already taken this apart, and I have figured out exactly what the issue is. There is a ball bearing that sits inside of this drag cap that needs to be replaced. So I figured I would take this opportunity to, you know, talk about this reel, what I like about it, what I don't, and also to talk about these little kits. This is from Spool high-speed bearings. It specifically has been ordered for the Piscifun Torrent 2. You've got 3 bearings that come in this kit. I'm not really sure which one of the 3 I'm going to use, and they don't really tell you specifically what bearings these are going to replace. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ball bearings and a roller clutch involved in the system, and each of them are marked. The reel itself identifies as being a 7 bearing system, so I'm assuming that the roller clutch is included in that list. The one that I'm worried about is number 213. Now, I did reach out to Piscifun and I said, hey, I have this issue with this reel. Can you take care of me? And after we tracked down my purchase history, they got back and they said, hey, you know what? Sorry, we don't have that particular ball bearing in stock at the moment, but we will issue you a partial refund for your reel so you can go out and get something for yourself. Within a day, I had a $15 refund through my vendor for this reel, which I bought last year. And I put that towards the purchase of these bearings, which cost you somewhere in the neighborhood of $20-25. Now, there are people who are out there who are like, well, now, why would you put $20 plus bearings in a $30 reel? And I'll tell you why. I like this reel. I don't want to be a wasteful person. If I can just fix the thing that I need to fix, I'm going to give that a shot. So let's go ahead and give it a try. I've never done this before. This is not a how-to. It is more of a how this dude did this thing. Now, the way that I've approached breaking down this reel is I start by taking off the handle. That's pretty simple. You got this first screw that sits right here. And as I disassemble these components, I will stack them up in the order in which they are removed. Let's grab our wrench or 10 millimeter socket. This is a reverse threaded, so it's righty loosey, lefty tighty. Pretty simple. Once that's loose, this pops right off. Handle goes with it. All right. Now, I'm not sure if this is correct, but this is where I place my washer. Kind of a hassle to get off. Take the star drag off. And there we go. Then you have a flat washer, followed by a couple of compression washers. If you look at that, you can see that there is a gap between these because these washers are bent. A little airspace that exists in there. You want to preserve that. If you have trouble remembering how they go together, just keep them together. And there's that final washer right there. And I mean, you may be able to get this first bearing to come out as is right now, but I'm not really going to mess with that. Go ahead and pop that off. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take off the side assembly. Place that. We'll remove our spool. I don't know how well you can see that in there. We have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4 screws to remove. The nice thing here is the screws look very similar, are identical. Place those together. Flip it over. And then we have the silver one on the inside. I'll just lift this off. Okay, now for our purposes, I'm not really planning on working anything that's on this portion of the reel. All right, now all the work we're going to do is right here. The first bearing that needs to come out. We consult our diagram. Let's see, that's number 128. Doesn't specify size or anything like that. Hopefully we have one to match it. Set that there. The second ball bearing that we want to replace is right in here, and it sits behind the spring retainer. Now, this is pretty easy to get off of there. That could have been a disaster, but we found it. There we go, that works. That's a handy use for this. This bearing is the culprit. One of the ways that you can tell is when I originally cleaned this, every time I shot this with lubricant, rust water would come out of it. And it makes sense. Or even though you have this O-ring here, moisture can still get in and it causes all kinds of problems. Let's see whether or not those match up with what we have been provided. That is definitely a match. And that is not. That is not. But at least we got the one that we needed out of this kit. Okay, so after editing this video, I came back and it was driving me nuts. I really wanted to know why this kit that I ordered was not aligning with this reel that I had in my hand. This will be useful to you if you find yourself in a position where you are trying to order replacement components for this reel. If you check out the Piscifun website, you will find that they manufacture this reel, the Torrent 2, in 2 different sizes. There is a 100 size and there is a 200 size reel. All right, I bought mine off of Amazon. And when you look at the Amazon website, they do not specify what size of reel you're actually getting. They just say it's the Torrent 2 and you can get the 2 different gear ratios, right? I happen to go with the 8.1 to 1. This led me to have the question, what size reel do I actually have? I don't know, because when I look at this box, it doesn't specify anywhere on it whether this is the 100 or the 200 size reel at all. Nowhere. It doesn't say anything inside of this user guide to tell me which one of the 2 models that I've actually got my hands on. And so I went back to the Piscifun website and I figured it out. There's a graphic about the 2 sizes that they have available, and it tells you what the line capacity is for the 100 and the 200 size reels. For 30-pound line, you have 125 yards of line capacity on the size 100, and for the same 30-pound line, you have 218 yards of line capacity on the 200 size reel. Now this, while it is not marked as a 100 or a 200, the line capacity is very clearly identified. 30 pounds at 125, this is a 100 size reel. Okay, cool. Let's bring it back to spool. What's up with that? Because the bearing that we were looking at did not align. It was too small for the housing. Well, after looking at it, I realized that the spool website advertised this kit as being for the Torrent, not the Torrent 2. And you can, again, look at the website and you can see that they are completely different models. So after rechecking the website, I realize now that I got lucky, right? This kit is not designed for the Torrent 2. And pretty clearly, the bearing sizes that are used on the Torrent 2 versus the Torrent are not the same. So if you happen to be looking at one of these kits, you will get a replacement for the brake system bearing, number 213. It looks to me like you also get a replacement for the bearing that rides on the spool itself. That's number 302. But when it comes to bearing number 128, they are not the same size between the Torrent and the Torrent 2. In other words, this kit only gets you 2 out of the 3. Let that be a lesson to anybody who is watching this. If you are buying the spool high-speed bearing kit and you're trying to figure out exactly which ball bearings are the ones that are going to come in the kit. So, to avoid any confusion, we will put these back. 1 and 2. We can pop that one back into place, which was working just fine. We can then take this replacement for 213. We can pop this. That's pretty snug too. There it goes. Right into place. Take our spring clamp. Hopefully this time not launch it halfway across the room. Okay. That is once again secured. A quick drop of oil. And now we can start our reassembly. Okay, so we didn't really mess with this. Make sure those 2 springs are in position. Make sure the thumb lever is in the up position. We'll go ahead and we'll get all this aligned. Good to go. 2 black screws. Silver screw never came out of the housing. Go ahead and pop that back in. And I can already tell you, that's way more silent than it was before. First washer, compression washers or bent washers. Second washer, spring. I like to lock this one down as far as I can get it. All right. Again, working in reverse order, putting all of this stuff back on. This part's always been tricky for me. Like, I find that if I look at it from the side, it's easier to tell whether I've got my threads lined up. Take that down. And in this case, lefty tighty. Don't have to go crazy with it. Just enough. Put your retainer on. Come back to the wrench. Get the hole lined up. There we go. Okay, functions check. All that's good to go. That's beautiful. This was previously making all kinds of noise. Put my thumb on here to see if that's working. Yeah, it absolutely is. Really wrench this thing down. Absolutely doing the job. No resistance. That problem is fixed. That sounds great. And I will save these other 2 bearings for later on the road if and when something actually goes wrong. So again, do I like the Piscifun reel? I absolutely do. It is fantastic for the type of stuff that I do. I've had 1 bearing go bad on a total of 3 or 4 of these models that I've used. This is the one with the most hours on it. But yeah, if you do the kind of fishing that I do, where you are deep in the muck, and you need something with a whole lot of drag on it to assist you with heavy hook sets and fighting of larger fish, highly recommend it. For the price, this is unbeatable, and as you can see, it's super easy to tear down, super easy to put back together. You can do it in literally minutes, and you can source at least some of the parts that you need to do the job. Hope this was useful. If it was, click like and subscribe. There he is. Yeah, that's a better fish. That's a better fish. Oh, patience. Patience, patience, patience. Look at that eat all the way in. Yep, we're gonna call that one 26.5. Not bad. That is the mouth of a fish you do not want to put your finger in. Look at those teeth. Gorgeous. Snakehead number 2 for the year, 26.5 inches. You gonna smack me? Don't freak out. There you go. Not a tank. Good fish though. That one was work.